Hello everyone and welcome to my review of Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 115. If anything sounds different, I have like an actual setup now, so if the acoustics sound kind of different because of all the stuff I have around here, that's why. Starting with today's video, I'm going to be doing these chapter reviews a little different. If you've been keeping up with my reviews, what I've essentially been doing is just going through the chapter and skimming over it and then talking about important things as I get to them. Now, what I'm going to try doing is I'm just going to go over some of the important things that happen in the chapter and just discuss those at length and then give my predictions about where I think this is going to go and stuff like that. Now, with this week's chapter, I was pleasantly surprised to see that Jogo was not just off-screened last chapter, and he actually is fighting Sukuna. We actually do get to see what Jogo can do, which is great, because Jogo is very strong, potentially like top 5 strong. But the issue is that he keeps getting put up against the top 2 in the verse, so he keeps getting shit on almost every single time he fights. Fortunately, we did get to see him just blaze through Maki, Nanami, and Albedo, albeit they were injured, but this was just after they had fought Dagon, who was pretty strong, and one of them, was it Nanami? It was one of them who said that, oh my god, this guy's on like a completely different level from Dagon. And we got to see a bit of what he could do there against people who are not on Gojo and Sukuna's level, and he is quite formidable. And I'm glad that we're actually getting to see at length what he can do, and he can do quite a lot. His meteorite ability, that's some... Listen, man. In a battle manga, if you're able to summon a meteorite, you're top tier. That's just how it works. If you're able to conjure a giant space rock that's capable of at least leveling a city, you're pretty good. You're pretty fucking good. Now, it seems like the meteorite didn't explode, which is weird because that's normally like how they work and all, so it's more of like a crushing thing. So at the very least, he's able to flatten several city blocks, which is still like pretty impressive stuff. I'd say that's like about the tier of most of the characters that we've seen so far. Yeah, probably thinking back to like the types of abilities a lot of these guys have, I would say that they're probably like multi-building busters at the very least. I know you have to consider like the potential of abilities like Gojo's Infinity and whatever Sukuna's doing, which we'll get into. He's pretty strong. It's possible that he'd be able to, like, blow it up if he wanted to. I don't know. I assume it's because he doesn't want to kill his friends. So maybe he's able to decide whether or not it explodes. Now, we get to see more of Sukuna. And a bit more of his character, because we haven't really seen Sukuna out and about doing stuff since very, very early on. We got a little bit of him when Yuji fought Mahito along with Nanami, and we only saw a little bit of him then, but we actually saw Sukuna fighting with, if I recall correctly, it was like 2 or 3 fingers worth of power against Megumi in like chapter 10, and we got some insight into his character then, and now we're getting to see a lot more of him now, and he's not quite as malevolent as a lot of the other cursed spirits are. He's more of just like the guy who's pretty much, oh, I'm basically God. I can basically do whatever I want, and I just like screwing around and having fun with that powers. And the sort of superiority complex leads to him doing evil shit, because he just doesn't care. Like, he's on another level of power. Do you care about the ants that you step on? So why would he care about the lesser beings that he steps all over? It's probably something like that. And we get to see the difference in power fully displayed between the King of Curses and a special grade. Or do they call them high grades? I don't... it really depends on what translation you read. But very early on, when Jogo was first introduced, I believe it was Imposter Ghetto that said he was around 8 or 9 Sukuna's fingers worth of power. And right now, Sukuna has, I think, 16. And the difference in their power is immense. Jogo cannot touch Sukuna. Even with his giant meteor ability, he can't touch him. Sukuna said, oh yeah, that would have damaged me a bit if it touched me, but he was just able to get out of the way of it with no issue whatsoever. Sukuna's ability. What the hell is it? So, if we go over to the end of the chapter, when Sukuna and Jogo are on top of the meteorite, and Sukuna asks Jogo why doesn't he use his domain, and Jogo's like, I'd lose in a battle of domains, which Sukuna knows is what happened with Gojo. Spoken like a true loser. God, he's such an asshole. But anyway, he says that he'll fight using Jogo's specialty, and he says open, and the text bubble has a black square in it. And then he starts using fire. So you have to wonder, what the hell is Sukuna's ability? Now, unfortunately, I assume we'll get this in the next chapter. Or maybe. Or we'll get, like, some allusions to what it does beyond what we've gotten here. You know, with the way that curse techniques work in this series, that if you explain it to your opponent, that increases the power of your ability. So it's just a convenient way for the author to excuse characters explaining their abilities to their opponent, because it actually makes them better. So apparently Sukuna is so confident in his fire ability that he doesn't want to explain it to Jogo, or he would just absolutely steamroll over him. He calls it cheating. So what exactly is Sukuna's ability? Because Jogo himself says he thought it was just like slicing and slashing things. I have seen a theory. I've seen a couple. The first one is that Sukuna has a different elemental power for each of his arms, because, Sukuna had 4 arms. That's why he had 20 fingers. And the slashes that we've seen him doing have been him using air techniques, doing like air slashes, as you would see with some anime characters using a sword. And so what he's doing with this open whatever thing here is that he's just using the power of one of his other arms to unlock the fire powers. This seems pretty plausible. It would be interesting if Sukuna, who's like the king of curses, was able to use all 4 elements, because we've seen a big theme with the high-grade curses, is that they all have elemental or nature associations. So Jogo is the earth, Hanami was the forest, Dagon was the sea, Mahito is humans, and you had that locust guy from early on in the arc. So if the king of the curses, the highest of high grades, is able to just use any element that he wants out of like the 4 main elements, that would make a pretty decent amount of sense, if you consider that the things that humans fear the most are like nature, because we're really not able to control it. The other theory that I've seen is that Sukuna is able to just copy cursed techniques, which is also pretty plausible. As the king of curses, you would maybe think that implies that he can just kind of do whatever he wants. As the king of curses, all curses would be in his domain. Not like his domain, but like his expertise. So for him to just be able to casually copy the technique of a high-grade spirit, that would kind of just make sense for him. Either way, Sukuna is very fittingly busted. You would hope as much to come from the King of Curses. and we will see the result of their firepower battle in the next chapter. Unfortunately, the next chapter does not come out for 2 weeks. It seems like Jump is going on a break next week, I guess. Which really sucks for other series like My Hero, which have been having like week breaks every other week for the past couple months. But I guess we'll have to wait to see what happens with that. Not really too much else of significance happened in this chapter. We got to see a bit of Kusakabe's ability, which seems to mostly just be anime sword fighting, which is cool. I always like seeing the token anime swordsman. I don't mind seeing one, as long as most of the other characters are doing something else. So I welcome that wholeheartedly. But yes, next chapter, we'll probably be seeing the conclusion of the next fight. We still have to consider whether or not Jogo is able to touch Sukuna, and this firepower battle is perhaps the situation in which that would happen. But seeing how Sukuna was able to just so casually flash step around and stuff, basically, like he was just teleporting with his speed, and just bully the Jujutsu sorcerers. That may not happen, because if it does, there's not really a good explanation as to how he doesn't just immediately kill everyone. Because he said, like, don't move, guys. If you do, I'll just kill you. And everyone believed him, and I believe him. So if Sukuna really does start doing what the high grades want, then everyone's kind of fucked. And I'm not sure, based on how strong Sukuna is shown to be, if there is a way for them to not all get murdered immediately that doesn't involve some kind of plot convenience. So, hopefully, as much as it hurts me to say it for Jogo, hopefully he just gets trounced here, and we don't have to worry about that. But, yeah. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I do Jujutsu Kaisen reviews every week, or in this case, every week that we get a chapter. If you enjoy other series such as Record of Ragnarok, Chainsaw Man, Kengan Omega, and Bleach, I do videos on those series as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around.